Hello there and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 824, that is Ocho Dos Cuatro, with me, your host, Agostinho Zinga, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere within the depths of London. How you doing? How you feeling? Great, amazing. How am I? All good in the hood? All good in the hood. I'll tell you one thing that isn't good in the hood before we start things off. I'll tell you one thing that is definitely not feeling good in the hood. And it's a streamer, Jack Doherty. Do you guys know who Jack Doherty is? I've just seen this on my timeline. I thought, you know what? What a better way to start the show than showing you this in completely unhinged, ridiculous video starring the live streamer and content creator Jack Doherty crashing his McLaren and making his friend's face bust open with blood and stuff. Absolutely wild scenes. Look at this absolutely unhinged video. This kid is fucking crazy. I'm surprised no one got badly hurt. Thank God no one got badly hurt. It doesn't look like it, but Jesus Christ, look at this. Just look at this. Look at this, please. Please look at this. So if you can't see the video and listen via the audio only, there's this kid driving in a very expensive looking McLaren down a highway, aka motorway. It's torrential rain. It's literally spitting down. The wipers are non-stop moving. It looks rainy as fuck. He's on his phone, holding his phone in one hand. He's steering a car in another hand, and his friend in the passenger seat is recording him live streaming. So he's distracted three ways: with the live stream, with his phone, and via driving. Absolutely insane. And look how fast he's going down the motorway in this rain while looking at his phone while also streaming. Ridiculous. He speeds up now to overtake a car, and then he suddenly loses control, and then bang, smashes his car into the side of the railings. It goes blank.
No, watch out, watch out.
The phone's obviously still streaming. They're still streaming.
Open your door.
The screen.
Shit.
Now his friend is completely covered in blood. His McLaren's completely totaled. He's still recording. Look at his friend. This probably might get me taken off of YouTube. Hopefully it doesn't. But look at his friend's face. Look at his friend's face. Absolutely covered in blood. He definitely will need some stitches. It looks like on the top here. It looks like he's got a wound right there at the top, right above his eyebrows. So clearly he's got a complete split open. Luckily, this kid didn't smash his McLaren into somebody else. It looks like he just smashed it into the guard railings on the side. The only thing I'm confused about, though, the car looks completely totaled, and it wasn't going that fast. I wonder if it's because this is like a luxury, fast sports car thing. So maybe it's made of like fiberglass or something very light, because that entire front end is completely gone. And it didn't look like he was driving super fast, but again, maybe he was driving a lot faster than it seemed on the camera.
Holy fuck.
Look at the car. Look at the car.
Oh my.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at the front. The front is completely that car is basically totaled. The front of it is completely gone. The front is completely fucking gone. But to be fair, if I'm not mistaken, don't McLarens have the engine at the back? So that might explain why it's completely smashed on the front. Maybe because it's the engine's at the back and not on the front. That might explain why it's completely caved in like that. But yeah, I'm surprised it flattened itself. So what? The barrier's hardly damaged. Look at the barrier. The barrier didn't leave a dent. I know those barriers are designed. I think that's the point of them, right? Those barriers are designed in a way where they're meant to absorb most of the impact from the cars. Because if you look across the road, there's like a residential area, and the idea behind those barriers is that they can stop cars from like tumbling or flipping over. I think that's the main reason, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I was watching like a YouTube channel about it, and they were talking about the innovation on the barriers and stuff and how they work. I think that, again, I don't drive, so forgive me for being, dumb what I'm saying.
My God, bro.
Look at the pieces on the motorway. And he's still streaming, by the way. This kid is still streaming.
Bro, my whole fucking car, bro.
He's still streaming. He's still streaming.
No fucking way.
Don't get me wrong. That car deserves to be totaled for the paint job alone. That paint job is horrendous, right? The paint job is fucking horrendous. If you can't see it, it's a blue McLaren, and it's also covered in like what looks like splatters of paint. It looks like he might have did it himself. It looks like he literally got a bucket and like splayed paint all over it like Jackson Pollock style, but with less panache and obviously. But the base model, the car itself is fucking gorgeous. Black rims, red disc brakes, like it's a fucking gorgeous McLaren. And he's just totaled it because he wasn't paying attention. Fucking crazy.
Oh my gosh. There's no fucking Michael here.
Look, Michael here.
You have to film on that phone too.
He gives his phone to his friend who's standing there with blood covering half of his face. He gives his phone to his friend to keep recording him and streaming. To keep recording him via the stream. Could you imagine? The guy's probably concussed. The kid's probably concussed, I'd imagine. Maybe got some whiplash and he gives him the phone. Here. Most likely that kid didn't have his seatbelt on. Most likely they both didn't have their seatbelts on. Here's a phone. Here, hold this quickly. Let's create content. Don't get me wrong, he's doing a smart thing because, you know, why not make the worst? Why not make the best out of this horrible situation? But God almighty, these kids, man, these new era kids are fucking crazy. He's standing there, looking at the car, flicking on his phone.
Oh my god.
He's trying to figure out what to do. There's another friend there. He's loving the fact that he's covered in rain, basically. I'd imagine too. Out there, covered in rain, he's probably loving it. There's a random girl there also. I'm not too sure who that is. Maybe his girlfriend. They're standing there. They're gonna figure out another content thing. Look. Here we go. More content. He's got the phone.
Let him have that. Let him have that.
Still recording. Imagine being the parents of these kids, man. Imagine being the parents of these kids. At some point, you have to think, you know what? Natural selection, man. Natural selection. Natural selection is going to take my kid. There's nothing you can do to this kid. You can ground him. He's just going to rebel anyway. Send him away somewhere. He might get worse. So if you let kids like this just do what they want, like imagine being this kid's parent. You're like, I've given this kid everything. He's got everything now. He's a multi-millionaire from streaming and making content. And look at the idiotic thing that he's doing. On his phone, texting or checking the chat and streaming and driving with one hand and trying to speed. He tried to overtake a car, by the way. That's why he crashed. He tried to overtake a car while it's raining. Probably with not the correct tires on or whatever. Doesn't know how to handle the power of that McLaren also, most likely. You know, put too much fucking, you know, oomph in the fucking throttle. And then bang, the back, I think the front gave away, or not the back. I think the front gave away, and then luckily he was able to kind of steer it out of the way of other cars. That was a lucky thing, or maybe the other cars made some distance. I don't know, but Jesus Christ, look at this disaster.
Can you film on here on the phone? And you can make it look good. Look through it the whole time.
Make it look good. What? Make it look good. They're standing in front of the car. They're trying to look hopeless. Look. He's got his best thumbnail face on.
No, it was just them too. I'm alright.
Oh my God, man. And that car's worth what? How much does a McLaren go for? Let me check my phone. McLaren. Is that a 720? That might be a 720, right? Is that a 720? I don't know. How much do they go for sale? It's saying anywhere between 1,750, sorry, 1,775, sorry, to 1 million, allegedly. This McLaren 720, I think that's a car he's got. I'm not too sure. It could be that, it could be something else, but regardless, it's, you know, it's a lot of money. Let's say $500,000 upwards. He's completely totaled it because he was driving and looking down on his phone and also live streaming. Absolutely crazy. I want to watch it one more time all the way through without stopping. Let's watch it one more time all the way through without stopping. Crazy, man. Look him. He speeds here. He speeds there and then completely goes.
Oh! No! No! No!
No!
Oh, fuck. No, watch out.
I love the hazard. I love the crash sound, by the way.
Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Oh, Michael. Are you okay? Yeah. Holy fuck. Oh my God, bro. My whole...
Somebody screamed his name,
Bro,
I think,
my
over there.
car, bro.
I think he was getting stream sniped. Somebody screamed his name.
No fucking way. Oh my gosh. There's no fucking... Michael, here. Michael.
It's crazy
Yeah,
how
Apple
much
too.
damage the front of the car has got, man. It's absolutely totaled. Wow.
Oh my god.
I also realized he stands with a pigeon toe. I think guys like this who have that kind of pigeon toe stance with that haircut, they're always they're always a bit muppety, you know? They're always a little bit wanky, those type of dudes. You know what I mean? Those kind of guys that walk around like fucking Dave Portnoy with a little pigeon toe. They're always a little bit wanky. He's got that thing about. I just noticed it now. He's got a little pigeon toe going on.
Make it look good. Look through it the whole time. Go over Michael.
Make it look good.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he's got a little pigeon toe thing going on. Look at a little pigeon toe stance. You know, I love it.
I'm alright.
I wonder who those people are in the yellow. Who are all those people in the yellow? Who's that? But yeah, what a crazy situation, man. What a crazy situation. These new content creators are fucking entertaining to watch. I know that he's got a bad reputation online. A lot of people hate Jack Doherty because I think, oh yeah, he's that kid who walks around live streaming with big security. Yeah, he hires these like super big black guys and he just starts antagonizing people. You start doing these pranks and being a bit of a nuisance to people. And I think one time he was a nuisance to some dad and the dad was about to fight him and the security guards always pulled him back. But he uses it to his advantage. He'll say some wild shit to somebody and just hide behind his security, like Neon style. Absolutely, people hate him so much. He's like the new version of like, you know, Jake Paul and Logan Paul and stuff. So but he also makes a lot of money, and I think it's just from streaming. I'd imagine so, because like affording a McLaren from streaming is fucking sick. That must mean he has like mad amount of subs to be afford a McLaren. And you'd imagine these type of kids like to floss, so they don't really gain any points. Like they don't gain any clout out of leasing. They like to show off that, yeah, I've bought this cash, which might not be too. I'd imagine at some point when you're like that wealthy, it's probably a smart decision to lease a car like that. Owning it probably might not be the best long-term investment. I don't know. Maybe it's opposite. Maybe these cars are very rare, or maybe there's a long waiting list. So if you do get one and you buy it cash, you could probably resell it for a bit more or get your money back, which you don't usually do for cars. So maybe that's smart actually to buy it outright. But he probably owns it outright. Let's just say that, for lack of a better, you know, for lack of more information. And yeah, man, like he totaled it for pure negligence. It wasn't even like he was, you know, drunk or anything. He's just driving a car like that with that kind of power. Like I can't imagine how much horsepower it has. I can't imagine how quickly it must go 0 to 60 or its total, you know, miles per hour time. But I'd imagine McLarens, they're basically track cars, right? They're track ready. So that car's probably fast as fuck. Probably for an experienced driver, it's hard to manage. It's hard to handle. And then he puts, because you see it when he's driving pretty slow, and then he puts his foot down. I'm not too sure if it's, I think it's the same in America, because in the UK there's like different lanes in the motorway are, you're meant to drive at different speeds, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I don't drive, so don't kill me for this, but I'm pretty sure different lanes pertain to different speeds you're meant to be driving at. So he should have really been in whatever the slow lane is and just followed whatever that speed limit was. But especially when it's raining, it makes no sense to like try. What are you doing? But everybody else was. You could see everybody else in the camera was driving really slow, which is probably why they didn't crash into any cars, because they could react really quickly because they were all driving within the speed limit. He was the only one that fucking thought he could floor it, and of course flooring it, and it just, you know, it looked like the front gave way, which is really interesting. You'd think the back would, but I think the front gave way, and then when the front gave way, it just like it was over. It was fucking over. But yeah, in the rain, a car like that, I just don't get it. I just don't get it, man. But the floss would be him the next day streaming again and then buying a new one, you know, showing us like going to the fucking dealership and buying a new one. That's going to be the biggest floss. But I have seen on social that Kick have banned him. But I think it'll be temporary. These type of people, they don't get banned forever. But it's not the greatest reputation. It's not the greatest thing for Kick to have a streamer like this, you know, being so reckless, because this could have ended really badly. That car could have blown up. He could have careered into like a family, because that's what happens all the time. And whenever people get involved in wrecks, it's always so unfair, especially when the person is making the mistake. They never get injured. it's always other people that end up fucking getting injured or fatally passing away or something. But happily, or luckily anyway, no one got crazy injured and everyone looks to be okay. But his friend had a pretty big cut on his forehead, covered in blood, and he's like, yeah, hold the phone. Hold the phone, mate. You gotta earn your keep. Fuck the blood, earn your keep. You want free rent? Huh? You want free essentials? You want me to keep buying your essentials for you? You want fucking unlimited slides? Well, hold the fucking phone. Oh, absolutely hilarious. Hold the phone. But yeah, glad everybody's okay. I'm glad everybody is okay. Cool. Moving on, wanted to quickly recap the United v Porto game the other day. Obviously, most of you know what the result was. It was 3-3 in the end. Bit of a weird game, I'm not going to lie. Bit of a weird game. I felt like we should have probably won, even though we weren't playing well and Porto dominated most of the game. Weird thing to say, but I think in European football, if you get gifted 2 goals like we did, especially after weathering that storm, because it felt like for the first 10 minutes, Porto were all over us like a rash, especially within the first 5, sorry. I think if I'm not mistaken, I was watching the game live, and I think they had a chance on goal. I think Porto had a chance on goal within the first minute or something. Around that sort of mark, they had the chance on goal. So it was looking kind of dicey for us. But we were able to weather that early storm away from home in their stadium, which is the Al Madrigal, I think the name of it is. It's a very intimidating stadium, kind of similar to what you'd face if you were going to face one of those Turkish sides. But we weathered the storm, we did pretty well, and then we scored 2 goals. I wouldn't say by fluke, but 2 goals by keeper's mistake, especially the first one. Marcus Rashford did pretty well anyway for the lead up to it. He got the ball on the wing, attacked his man, dribbling in and out, dribbled inside to the box. And by the time he got into the box, no one wanted to touch him because he wanted to give her a penalty. Able to do a couple of feints and then bang, smashed it near post. And Diogo Costa should have saved it. Diogo Costa had a fucking nightmare. He was terrible that night, which is really bad because I think that was like his audition for the world stage, because a lot of teams are looking at him. United United too, I've heard, or from the rumor mill, and he's one of those keepers that everyone thinks is going to be like the next kind of big keeper, but he was terrible. He let the ball he tried to save it with his feet when he could have probably saved it with his hands, and it went kind of underneath him or through him, so he'd be disappointed with that one. The second goal was my favorite. I'm not going to lie, that was my favorite goal because it involved Højlund doing some quintessential striker play. The ball comes up into the middle, I think into the halfway line. Højlund jumps up, heads the ball down, I think heads it to fucking Eriksen or someone in the midfield, and then he runs into the area. The ball goes out wide to Rashford, then to Eriksen, then to him in the box again, and he finishes it with a great kind of strike across the keeper, which I think he should have saved as well. But all in all, for a striker play, because Højlund and Zerski are really feeding on peanuts at United, so it was just nice to see Højlund be able to play that role and score a goal like that, the quintessential striker goal where you kind of knock it down, pass it out wide, and you run into the area waiting to finish it. I fucking love that goal. And I thought from then on, with us being 2-0 up, if it was up to me and I was a coach, I would have definitely gotten on an extra defender. I felt like Martinez and De Ligt were very, very shaky the entire game. Again, not really their fault. I think there's just too many gaps in the midfield in general. I think the gaps in the midfield essentially leave Martinez and De Ligt with too much space to defend. And I think from what we've seen in recent games, Martinez and De Ligt are not good defenders with space in front of them. I don't think nowadays there's many defenders who can defend with space in front of them, but I think especially Martinez and De Ligt, they struggle a lot if there's not space in front of them and we're not compact, and they were getting run around in rings, and they were basically getting outnumbered in that position with Porto in midfield and runners off. That Samu kid up front looked very frightening. And I would have taken off Martinez and brought on Harry Maguire earlier, or even taken off Eriksen or somebody and made that midfield a little bit more assured and brought in an extra defender to kind of shore things up. But that didn't happen. And of course, Porto were able to get a quick goal back, and then they all basically went into the break 2-2, and essentially we threw the game away. From then on, it was never likely that we were going to come back into the game. We kind of threw it back. We threw it away when we could have easily won it. But to be fair, Samu, the kid up front, he was really scary. Every time he got on the ball, he looked really sharp. He's definitely a striker that I think will easily be going on the transfer market for 100 million plus. He's got physicality, he's got pace. He looks like he can finish. I think if I'm not mistaken, he might have got like 4 chances or 5 in total, and he scored 2 of them. The second goal in particular was a really great finish, a superb finish. Top corner, like, passes the ball out wide, runs into the box, similar to kind of Højlund, and is able to kind of run in front of his man in Delete and smash it top corner. So that Samu kid looked fucking brilliant. But again, United also made him look like fucking Drogba reincarnated. So as good as he played, I think we obviously helped him to, ball out, as we always do with strikers. And then of course, the worst thing happened. The worst thing possible happened. Bruno Fernandes got sent off. The Bruno Fernandes sending off was on the cards because the first yellow card he got in the first half for a high foot was very unnecessary in my opinion. There was no need for it. He was never going to get the ball. We weren't desperately needing to get the ball in that position. He flew in with his foot high, and in Europe you know that you can't get away with that sort of stuff. The argy-bargy, aggressive, front foot, whatever reckless play you can get away with in the Premier League, you never get away with it in Europe. Everybody knows that. You have to be a little bit more cultured, a little bit more, dare I say, cute and considered in Europe. Bruno Fernandes didn't do that. He left his foot up. The referee gave him yellow card, whatever. Second half comes around, and he's basically walking on a tightrope now because he got a silly yellow card in the first half. And then, of course, he does the same thing again in the second half, towards the end of the game. He gets another yellow card for the same thing. 2 yellow cards, he's off. Me personally, considering how terrible he was, because it was a weird game with Bruno Fernandes. He was shit overall. He didn't influence the game at all. But I did feel like he was told not to do what he usually does and just spray the ball up top and just do the hit and hopes and shit. He was a lot more disciplined. It felt like he was standing in a midfield position way more than running around the entire pitch trying to be Captain America and shit, right? But still, captain getting 2 red cards in technically a week is unforgivable. I think especially if you're the captain, you have to get dropped. But more than likely, he's going to play against fucking Aston Villa tomorrow on Sunday. He's going to start. But if that was any other team, a player of that caliber, a player with his standing, being the captain, should be dropped for being, obviously the previous yellow card against Tottenham got overturned. But still, you're too reckless, bruv. You got a red card already in a week, and what you're doing now, you're costing the team the game. Makes no mistake. Anyway, that happens, and then of course that puts the favor of the game back into fucking Porto's position. Porto also, they were pretty shit themselves. The manager shit the bed and took off Samu. I think he should have kept him on, and they would have probably scored another goal, and then they would have killed the game. I think 3-2 for them was too dangerous because of how terrible their defense was. I think both defenses were terrible. Both keepers were pretty terrible too. I think, Onana should have saved a couple of their chances as well. So it was basically who was going to outscore who. And when we went down to 10, their manager decided to take off Samu for some reason. That completely shifted the balance of the game. We didn't really have they didn't really trouble us up front anymore. And then, of course, Erik ten Hag made what at the time felt like a bad decision by taking off 2 centre-backs and replaced them with another 2 centre-backs. But it did pay off dividends because Harry Maguire ended up scoring the equaliser right at the end. And a note to Harry Maguire, man. Let's give a note to Harry Maguire, because I've been the biggest hater of Harry Maguire for a very, very long time. And just because I think for his transfer fee, just because of the fucking England protection around him, because of the issue that happened with Greece, because of some of his comments pre-match, right? He's a bit of a cunt. Let's not mince any words about it. He's a bit of a cunt. But we have to give Harry Maguire a lot of credit. He's a model professional, man. He's been stripped of the captaincy. He's been disregarded. The club's been trying to sell him for a while, and you never hear this guy complain. He never complains. He never moans. He keeps his head down, keeps training, keeps being available for the team. And when needed, he steps up. And the other day, he stepped up and got us basically a point that we probably didn't deserve to get. So Harry Maguire deserves a lot of fucking credit, because other players in his position will throw their toys out of the pram, will have their agents talking to the press, all that malarkey, and it doesn't fucking happen. So big up Harry Maguire for absolutely being a G. And I think for this particular form and how he stepped into the team, especially because he's shown now that, Delit's not that much better than him really. I think he deserves to start a few more games, really and truly. I think he's earned it. I would even go as far. I think he's earned the right to have a little contract extension, a little cheeky year added on, or 2 years. He's definitely earned it for his professionalism and his ability to always be available for the team and do what needs to be done when called upon. So big up Harry Maguire. But in general, horrible result. We had victory in our hands. We could have easily won. This Porto team wasn't as scary as I thought they would be. All those transfers have definitely cost them over the years. They're not as strong as they once were, not as scary as previous, Porto teams. But of course, our defense and our inability to play as a team affected us, and we ended up drawing 3-3. But to be fair, I'm not really that bothered about Europa League anyway. I could care less about this European campaign. I'm more worried about the league and where we finish in there. I don't want to finish them in the table again. So I'll see how that kind of pans out. We'll see how that obviously pans out. And then obviously continuing on from that, we have a lot of news regarding Erik ten Hag. I, for one, wanted him to be, obviously I was very vocal about being Erik ten Hag out. I'd never been the biggest fan of him. I think it's been really disappointing. And I would say, not to be hyperbolic or not to be flipping dramatic, but it's been really disappointing, really heartbreaking how bad Erik ten Hag's tenure has been, especially for those of us who wanted him as a manager at United. I was one of those people. One of the fans of him at Ajax, seeing the way they played, seeing how they destroyed teams like Real Madrid in the Champions League, how they won the league, the intensity of their play, their aggression, the amount of goals they scored per game, the plays, the combination. It was a match made in heaven, because I think United fans like myself, I didn't think we were going to get Erik ten Hag and continue to win trophies and challenge for a league title. That wasn't the aim for me. I'm not sure if any of the United fans are the same. I want him to come in and make us play football again, make the games exciting again, make, watching United not a fucking bore, and just have us playing some good football, maybe bring in some youngsters, decent signings, and then leave a good foundation for the next manager to take up. I never thought he was going to come in and have us winning trophies, because obviously the league, at the moment, the top teams like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, they're way, way, way ahead of us. We've got a long way to go. We still need to be a stable and consistent top 4 club, which we're not at the moment. We keep yo-yoing up and down. But that didn't happen. So instead, we've got trophies, but we're scumbagging trophies, and we're playing some of the worst football I've ever seen. Legitimately, game in, game out. It's completely, it's a bore fest. It makes you want to fucking, dig your eyes out with a spoon. It's horrendous football. It's the same players again and again, running players into the ground. Lack of tactical variation. It doesn't feel like there's a meritocracy in the squad. Certain players get preferential treatment and get picked game after game. Other players get dropped based on how he wakes up and what mood he's on. I look at someone like Ahmad. Ahmad could score a hat-trick one week, but you're not sure if he plays the next week. Bruno Fernandes could play a 2 out of 10 for a whole season and never get fucking substituted. It's all over the place. Falling out with players. Like, it's been a complete and utter failure. And with the league finish last season, 8th, he should have been fired. There's no way United managers should finish 8th, playing the way we played, and keep the job because of an FA Cup or a technicality. He should have got fired last season. He didn't. They gave him an extra season, and I think, maybe the Ineos thought he could take some of that good feeling around the FA Cup win final and take it into a new season. That didn't happen categorically. And now we've started off the season as we fucking ended last season. And it's been a complete horror show. But United, even with this new partial ownership with Ineos, I just don't feel like we move quick enough. I feel like a top club, an elite club in any other league in the world, Serie A, La Liga and shit, they would have fired him already. They would have sacked him already. But we just move so slow. We have to wait until things get really, really, really bad and negative until we make a decision. And I think that's really a negative to the whole club overall, because all that goodwill, all that favor, all that, good vibes about the transfer window and shit is completely dissipated. There was so much good feelings around Ugarte signing, Zersky signing, and now it's, Mazwari, Delir, everybody was really giddy and happy, myself included, and now that good sentiment's completely gone. So, if anything, Erik ten Hag should be fired for the way we're playing, for the results and shit, but more so for the mood around the club. The mood around the club is dire, and he needs to go, and it needs to be fixed. But the news around it is really interesting, because it seems like a lot of people are suggesting if we lose against Villa tomorrow, he's out. Which obviously, he deserves. But, I don't think if we win against Villa, he should also keep a job. He should go anyway, regardless. But anyway, the feeling behind it is that we've got 2 options. If Erik ten Hag does get sacked after the Villa game, most likely we're going to hire an interim manager and then hire our permanent manager after the fact. Now, the problem is, some people, like myself included, are very nervous about this interim thing, because we did the same thing with Ole. We did the same thing with Ole, and we gave him the job when he shouldn't have got the job at the interim, after the interim stage, and we ended up costing us long term. So if it was up to me, and because I'm a sucker for suffering, I would actually let Erik ten Hag keep the job until the end of the season. Let him try and turn it around. If he doesn't turn it around, let him suffer with us. Let him have to go through the press conferences, having to answer questions about his style of play, having to answer questions about his selection, having to answer questions about his formation, his tactics. Let him suffer with us. We all suffer. He suffers too throughout the entirety of the end of season. And then you send him on your way, and then you hire your permanent manager. That's what I would personally do. I wouldn't go with the whole interim thing. I don't think that is the way to go, because imagine Ruud Van Nistelrooy comes in. Imagine if Ruud comes in and he suddenly has us playing fucking champagne football. Imagine if that happens. Then what? We give him a permanent job and then he shits the bed after Christmas. Then what? You know? Like, I don't want that to repeat itself again. And I think Ruud still has a lot of way to kind of go to sort of like, you know, earn his rep as well and to get more experience too. So I would rather get Erik ten Hag, finish the job until the summer. You suffer with us at the same way, and then hire the new permanent manager in the summer, which I'm not really too bothered about. I just want to coach. I don't really care who it is. If it's the guy at Sporting, if it's Thomas Tuchel, if it's Nagelsmann, I want a coach who's going to be able to come in and coach these players, improve some of the players that we have, and be able to have us playing a good brand of attractive football and also defending as a team. Have us compact. I hate the spaces between the midfield and the defense and the midfield. I hate how players get isolated. I hate how hard it is for us to score a goal compared to other teams, or even create a chance. I feel like when we face other teams, Porto included the other day, as soon as they get the ball, you know, 2 or 3 passes, they're already past our halfway line. With us, it's so laborious for us to get any sort of momentum to get to the, you know, to the forward line. The attackers don't really link up well. I don't know. I just hate how disjointed the team is. So I want a coach to come in to actually coach these players, coach this team, get us playing a good brand of attractive football, have us defending as a unit, attacking as a unit, and then obviously improving the players that we already have. I don't care transfers, put that to one side, improve what we already have, and then kind of see how we kind of, you know, how it shakes out at the end of the season. But before we get there, there's a couple stories here regarding Erik ten Hag's future. The first one says there is some tension between Erik ten Hag and Ruud Van Nistelrooy. A speculation has grown that the former Manchester United striker was recruited by Ineos in the summer because he would be a safe pair of hands should United change manager be required. That was obvious. I think Erik ten Hag should have been very disrespected. I'm surprised he actually took the job or even stayed on, because that's a very disrespectful thing from the club. He was given the job on a technicality because I guess the manager that they didn't want to sign. I think they interviewed Tuchel and somebody else. I forgot who it was, but in the end it didn't work out. So they went back to Erik ten Hag and said, "Hey, you stay for another season." So if it was me and I was Erik ten Hag, I think most coaches wouldn't have taken it because they didn't consider him the first option. They sort of kept him on a back burner and then obviously gave him on the technicality because the other guys said no. Then I would have been also very aggrieved if they then go out and sign another coach to bolster your coaching staff, but the coach that they signed is a coach that a lot of people kind of rate. He's a United legend also. It would feel like a little bit of an inside job. It would feel like a little bit of they've put a mole in my coaching staff for the purpose of overseeing and reporting back what I do, and also for the purposes of like safeguarding in case I do get sacked. So if I was Erik ten Hag, my alarm bells would have been ringing the moment fucking Ruud Van Nistelrooy got the job. That was always a sign for me that their long-term future wasn't with Erik ten Hag anyway. They kind of always had a fail-safe there. The next story regarding Erik ten Hag is this. Ruud Van Nistelrooy will be offered the Man United job on an interim basis if Erik ten Hag is sacked. However, Van Nistelrooy is worried about being seen as the man who betrayed Erik ten Hag. A source in Holland said, Van Nistelrooy is a principled guy. He felt betrayed at Eindhoven, and he will not want to be viewed as a man who went behind Erik ten Hag's back. I understand how he feels like that. That makes sense, but he has to look out for number one. The opportunity to manage a club like United doesn't come around often, especially given where we're at the moment. Most likely, if another manager comes in and does what they should be doing, and then another manager takes us to another level, he won't get a chance to manage the club anyway. Again, so this is the chance to get in while we're shit, get in while it's a bit chaotic and messy and all over the place. You know, get us steer the ship correctly, get us playing well, and then he can kind of, you know, continue from there. But I understand his feelings because I think, you know, coming in through the back door, last minute coaching edition, and then that manager gets fired and you get a job, is a bit mad. And I've also noticed he's also taken a bit more of I felt like he's taking a bit of a back foot in the sidelines, but recently he's been shouting and screaming a bit more. Against Porto, he got even a yellow card for being a lot more passionate and aggressive on the touchline, while Erik ten Hag just sat there. So I wonder if that kind of plays into it. I'm not too sure. And then the next particular one we got here is this news regarding Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba has had his drugs ban overturned, or sorry, reduced, or not overturned, but reduced to 18 months. At first, I think it was 4 years, which basically would have meant his career would have been over. But 18 months, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he can train already by the end of the year and be available for Juventus by March. But now Juventus are saying that now they're going to terminate his contract. They don't want him to play anymore because he probably missed out on too much football. The club's moved on. Motta, I think, is a manager there, probably doesn't really see him in his plans anymore. But he's probably still happy because he gets a chance to play professional football again, which obviously, you know, being a big Pogba fan, I'm absolutely happy for him. I wouldn't mind him coming back for one more last dance. I wouldn't mind him coming back, honestly, especially now. Like, I think Pogba had to struggle playing for a United team with not much kind of, you know, midfield option or solidity or quality. Now we've got far more quality in midfield. We're way more balanced, so he wouldn't have to do what he has to do when he was at the club before, which is basically play as a DM and play as an attacking midfielder and be box to box. So I think now if you did sign him, he could just spray balls left and right. He could play the way he played, you know, and, you know, make those late runs into the box, scoring goals. I'd fucking love him at United. I'm not gonna lie. It's unlikely gonna happen, but I would love him to come back for one last dance, especially now, given what we're currently going for. But personally, happy for him in his career. Happy that he can play football again. I think there's rumors about him going to the MLS or something, but if he can train already by December, which is basically around the corner, and playing again already by March, like basically next season, he's ready to play. So congratulations to Paul Pogba. Glad he's got his drugs ban overturned. He said, I think it was an error. He just, you know, had something he wasn't meant to have, but it wasn't, you know, a purposeful thing. But regardless, happy they listened to his appeal, and Paul Pogba will be back on a pitch sooner rather than later. So big up PP. Big up PP. Come back to United, my friend. Please come back to United, my friend. Oh my God. What's going on? 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 Big up the stream chat. Big up everybody tuning in. Big up Chris Mack. I see you here. Big up Logos Focus. I see you. Big up Rizé as well. Chris Rizé. What's going on? Eduardo Madeira. I see you in the chat as well. Big up Lepotta Main. Remember me, I'm the one who had your babies. Yeah. Big up Lepotta Main. Hope you're good. Big up Lucas Sharing as well. I see you in the chat. What's going on, Lucas Sharing? Hope you're good, my friend. Hope you are good, my friend. Cool. Let's move on. Next story to talk about here is regarding Dazed. I saw this article courtesy of Dazed magazine, and I thought it was quite interesting because, you know, I'm always on here rabbiting on about my lack of friends and stuff, and making you guys ears bleed with my fucking woe is me stories. So I thought this story regarding Dazed and friendship might be an interesting one to cover, you know, given some of the subject matter on this particular pod. So the title of the article is, Does Anyone Have Time to Be a Good Friend Anymore? I want to share life with people, not just catch up for 5 minutes when I run into them at the store. Oh, this is quintessential London, mate. This feels like a London-centric post, but maybe this applies to most metropolitan cities. Does anyone have time to be a good friend anymore? Forget good friend. Does anyone have time to be a friend? Not even a good one, a friend. I don't think so. I always thought I was, well, I probably still am pretty selfish with my time and stuff. But I think most people are nowadays. And I think you see that, I think a representation of that is pubs and bars. Whenever you go to pubs and bars, especially after like work times, you always see like a group of people around the table, you know, talking to their friends. And usually it's like one person, like, you know, yapping away while everyone else listens. But it's always like everyone's always keenly kind of attentive and aware of what's going on in a group. And if you've ever been out, you know, on the piss or something, and you try to say hi to those type of groups, they usually give you a glow. They usually glare at you, growl at you, like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Because it's understandable, because they don't really get to see their friends often. This one random Wednesday, they all bumped into each other, and they're all available, and they all have money. They all want to have a catch up and drink. The last thing they want is some random to come through and start disrupting them and trying to get into their group and saying, you know, and whatever, just chatting. So I think that possessive clickiness you see in bars, which is also reflected in nightclubs. You go to some clubs, whatever, you go to some club nights, and people don't really want to, like, you know, say hi or chill out or hang. They kind of just keep with to their friends. I think that as much as that speaks to how negative and dark and macabre and bleak London social life is, I think it's also a reflection on the fact that we don't have that much time with our friends. So when we do go out with them, we want to spend time with our friends. We don't want to spend time with some random who is offering us ket in a bathroom. Do you know what I mean? We want to spend time with our fucking friend we haven't seen in 18 months. So I get it. But I think, you know, good friend is a luxury. Having a friend is something that we would love to see. But again, what do I know? Let's read this article here. Big up Laura Pitcher, courtesy of Dazed. Early this month, after a particularly long week and amid a very unserious battle with a pesky head cold, I turned to a friend and asked a question. Do you ever wish you could take 2 weeks of annual leave for seeing or socializing with anyone? She said she thinks about it often. As usually a social person, my mum had to pry my hands from the playground at the end of each school day. My longing to spend every moment lying vertically home has been relatively new, but increasing occurrence. I cherish my deeply fulfilling friendships. I strongly believe in the importance of nurturing my relationships even when I'm tired. Still, I often feel like I have no hours to spare after showing up for all the week's commitments. I realized I wasn't craving space away from my loved ones, but the ability to feel energized enough to relish in their company, more time for truly enjoy my friendships. To be fair, I'm surprised more people don't do this. I was doing this often. It's kind of changed now with everybody working from home. There's not much of a need for it. But prior to working from home and prior from the pandemic, because technically, I think in the UK you basically get like 30 days of holiday. Let's say 20 plus, right? Let's just call it 20. So you get 20 days of holidays in the UK if you work full time, and I think it's calculated to about 2.5 days per month or something. I would always, not sure about you guys, but when I was working, especially prior to the pandemic, I would always take those 2 days per month just to take them. Sometimes, obviously, I'll take them to have my, techno weekenders in Berlin and stuff. But most of the time, it was just so you have some time off at the end of the month. Whether or not you want, especially if it was end of the month on payday, which is extra bonus. So you can actually go out, have a good time and not worry about having to go work on a Monday. I'd always kind of take the Monday off or, whatever it may be, just to kind of, make sure you can have a real crazy one if you wanted to. But that was you could also take those 2 days during the week if you need to do some life admin stuff. Like if you work 9 to 6 and you've got no time to go to the bank or to, return things or whatever it may be, you could also do that. So I was always surprised when I saw a lack of people taking holiday in the first place, especially little small ones around the year, just for staycations or just to kind of recharge your batteries. People will always kind of save it up for this one big long trip. But I think big long trips can be a bit of a double-edged sword. You wait for ages to take that trip, but then when you do go to a trip and you come back, you're going to have the worst holiday blues ever. Especially if you go to like somewhere amazing and exotic like Southeast Asia or something, and you have a great time and you come back to work, you're going to be so depressed. I'd much rather take like a couple of weeks here and there, a little 3 day, a little week here, a little this, a little that, and kind of break it up throughout the year to kind of keep myself energized and charged, than save it all up for one time. It's even more so if you've got a big social group of friends. It's probably important to probably check in on them quite often if need be and keep that social battery charged than to kind of wait until right at the end. But everyone's different when it comes to these sort of things. It continues. According to a new study led by Natalie Pennington of Colorado State University, my exhausted friend and I are not alone. Americans have an average of 4 or 5 friends, but now only spend 3 hours per week with them compared to 6 hours a decade ago. In other words, the growing loneliness epidemic is not about people having fewer friends. It's more just about a byproduct of having no time to foster deeper connections. I don't think that's true. I think it's probably a mixture of things. If nowadays you've got only 4 to 5 friends, and in the 70s people had way more, right? And we spent 3 hours with our friends nowadays based compared to like 6 hours a decade ago. I think that always has to do with social media. A decade ago, social media wasn't as good or wasn't as addictive as it is now. So people nowadays can probably spend more time on that without seeing their friends. Or if need be, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can stay on social media, stay inside, and you can also see your friends on social media. So it feels like you don't need to catch up with them. So you need to kind of go out your way to make more effort to see people IRL. But you technically are seeing them, especially if we're all uploading stuff at the same time. Not in the same way. We're uploading our stories, we're all posting on our feed, we're all tweeting, all this sort of shit. It kind of feels like everything while going with your friends. I mean, nothing crazy has really happened unless, you're not going to find out something super crazy that isn't on the timeline for the most part, which is really sad. you know, how we all live our lives. Most of the most monumental moments in our lives are definitely going to be on the timeline. So I think a lot of people are probably substituting that IRL experience for just what they're doing on social media, which might be the reason why those stats are so low. It continues. Juliana AS, an artist in Toronto, says that she manages to see just one of her 5 close friends each week. She only manages to see one of her 5 close friends each week. I miss stillness and having more time. I think back to my childhood. I'm an Afro-Caribbean woman with a communal upbringing, and what I saw and experienced growing up is so distant from our reality now. For Juliana, a young woman working from her way up a career ladder, the main time suck for building and maintaining friendship is work. It not only takes up space in her calendar, but also in her mind when she's off the clock. I think about it so often, how much time I spend worrying and anxious about business, day-to-day bills. I don't want to go out at night because waking up early gives me more time to clear my mind and accomplish my things. In the internal battle between prioritizing productivity and enjoying shared experiences, Juliana feels like we too often give into the machine's demand. I think it's tricked us into thinking isolation and hyper-independence are self-preservation, but together is the only way to survive. She says America's rigorous working culture is undoubtedly a play here, with people working hundreds of hours more yearly than Europeans, according to the 2023 report. But that's a problem though, isn't it? Like with work, man, like if you do like the bare minimum, you could probably get away with probably having more social time with your friends. But if you do the bare minimum, I'm not sure about you guys, but doing the bare minimum, your day goes way slower. Your day goes way slower. You feel like you're wasting your time. You don't really learn much. You don't really develop and grow as a person in your career or the job that you're doing. And if you do want to, you know, pursue it long term, you probably should be trying a little bit more than bare minimum. The moment you try to do something more than bare minimum, in most workplaces, you'll get rewarded because most people are terrible at what they do. Most of you know, I think most of us can agree to that. Even at your workplace now, you probably know a few slackers over there. So if you do just above the bare minimum, someone at work will notice you and you would probably get promoted. Obviously you get promoted, you get more kind of, you know, responsibilities, you get more money, but it also is way more time. It was going to take away more time. And if you're someone, you know, that kind of enjoys doing a good job, if you're a perfectionist, it's going to be even worse, because you're not going to, you know, you're going to be sort of like competing against yourself to try to do the best job possible. So that's going to obviously take up a lot of your time. So that kind of, you know, leads you into a bit of a rat race. But I also think at some point, you know, at some stage in life, you also have to get to a point where you are okay with having a smaller group of friends, seeing them for less amount of time. But when you do see them, it's obviously the best, because that's what happens when you have a smaller group of friends. When you have a smaller group of friends, you don't really need to see them often. You might see them once a year, but when you do see them, it's like you've seen enough, no time has passed, because you're actually real rap friends. But at some point, the older you get, you have to start to realize that socially and all that sort of stuff, it's not that important. You know, it really isn't. Like it figures itself out in the end anyway. And really, it's probably more important to, you know, make sure that you're making money, you're looking after yourself, and you can kind of, you know, indulge yourself in the lifestyles and the, you know, extracurricular stuff that you enjoy to do. And you need a job to do that. So one thing, you know, you kind of have to compromise in one shape or way along the way. And I think, you know, the type of like having hyper big social group of friend thing is definitely something that happens when you're super young. You have to kind of enjoy it. I think also at the time, I think it's super beneficial to enjoy that, you know, that time when you have like a fucking, like I remember one time, what was my Facebook? Before I deleted my Facebook, I think I had like 5,000 friends on there. And I can say with hand on heart, of those 5,000 friends, I probably seen in real life 3,000 of them. Those are people I met throughout my time at school, uni, working, traveling. But all those people I added on my Facebook were people that I've met, majority of them, which is crazy. But that, I think, is the same for most people that live in the metropolitan city, especially if you're involved in the scene and you're trying to make a name for yourself, you're DJing, going to all these parties, it happens. But just enjoy it. Enjoy that moment, because it's not going to happen again in the future. And now, half of those people, I can't remember who they are, and I don't know who they are. I don't, you know, never heard from them again, and life kind of moves on. So I think that is just a natural progression of life. I don't think you're meant to have those big social group of friends until the end of time. It's a bit scary if you do, to be completely honest. Let's continue. Some TikTok girl, I don't want to watch that. There's always been there's always been a relatively expected decline in face-to-face time, with friends going from high school to college to workforce. Still, our current relationship with time and socializing goes beyond that. According to Natalie Pennington, an assistant professor at communication at Colorado State University, even young Americans currently wish that they had more time for friendships. On one hand, adults absolutely gain additional obligations that make it harder to spend more time with people, she says. But on another hand, things happening in society are contributing as well. This includes a shift in how we communicate with each other. Pennington's prior research shows that face-to-face communication, voice calls make people feel connected, but texting and video calls are less beneficial, and social media and email do not promote connection or decrease loneliness. It also suggests that many young people feel like they are lacking valuable social skills after the pandemic. Yeah, you see that a lot, man. You see a lot of kids nowadays who you think have autism, but they're just socially awkward. You know, bare people like that who've just spent, they've kind of grown up, you know, their kind of formative years, they spend it on Zoom, they spend it on Teams, they spend it on Google Hangouts, they spend it on Slack. So when you meet them in real life, they're like so weird, and you think there's something wrong with them, but there's not. They just, you know, they spend too much time behind the computer, which is, you know, whatever it is. I'm just surprised here at this last bit of this paragraph where it says, Pennington's research shows that face-to-face communication voice calls make people feel more connected, but texting and video calls don't. So video calls don't make people feel connected. People actually prioritize or prefer voice calls over video. Because everyone does that now, right? Everyone will, you know, everyone's got a friend who will send you an unsolicited, like I've got a few. I'm not going to name them because I don't want them to feel bad, but I've got a few people on my Instagram and on my WhatsApp who send unsolicited voice notes. And they're usually over a minute long, and it's like, fucking hell, I have to sit here and listen to this like a minute. Like I have to remember what, and then then it almost feels like you have to reply back with a voice note. You can't just text, and if you do text, you look like a weirdo. Or you got people who will voice or video chat you unsolicited too, without any encouragement. You're just sitting there, suddenly you got this FaceTime. You know, and the FaceTime thing is always annoying because when someone calls you via FaceTime, the fucking selfie camera turns on. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What's this intrusion? What's this spying going on? This attempted at hacking. But I'm interested to see that those things don't replicate voice calls. Interesting. I remember there was a time for a very short period. This might have been like 2019, 2020. Maybe it was around there. Was it 2020? I had a New Year's resolution, which I dumped straight away, where I was going to commit myself to calling my friends more on the phone, like randomly. And I remember after a couple of phone calls, I was like, you know what? This is kind of weird. If some random person who I'm friends with but I hadn't seen in a while decided to randomly call me just to check up, I'd think they were calling for money or something, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I wouldn't get a good feeling about it. And the people that I did call, bless them, you know, they kind of, you know, were polite. But I think they got the same feeling too. They thought I was gonna, I don't know, dump a kid on them or something, or ask them to be a guarantor in a house, or to give me a good fucking word at court or something. Nah, like that random calling people, it sounds good on paper, but in reality, people hate that sort of shit. It continues. Where previous generations have emphasized the importance of married relationships, many young Americans now consider friends the most important relationship in their lives. In fact, 61% of US adults say having close friends is extremely important to live a fulfilling life, according to the 2023 Pew Research survey, which is far higher than those who say the same about being married, 23%. As a result, we also may be experiencing or expecting an increased level of depth and commitment from our friendship. We watch all these TV shows about perfect friend groups, and it's easy to think that you're supposed to have that. Exactly. Good point. When the reality is that friendship expectations vary from person to person. Emily Flores, founder of Cripple Media, said that she often struggled to keep up with the expected amount of communication between friends. I wish we could live in a world where we could start from less neurotypical styles of communication and allow fluidity into our relationships. It's a lot harder for me to reach out, so sometimes sending TikToks to my friends is low energy way to keep in touch. But that also, that's a cop out, isn't it? That's interesting. I've never heard of that. Less neurotypical styles of communication. These new buzzwords, bro. You mean you're too pussy to pick up a phone or text somebody or call somebody? I don't know. I think if you want to be friends with somebody, there has to be some skin. You have to put some skin in the game. You have to have some skin in the game. You have to invest some sweat equity, and you can't just be like, oh, it's fine to just like double heart to double tap their messages on Instagram stories or to fucking send them some emojis and shit. Nah, man, you have to pick up the phone, you have to text somebody, you have to meet someone, have drinks, meet up, hang out. That's part of it. Like, it should be a bit of a ball ache to be somebody's friend. That's, you know, it's like being in a relationship. Parts of it is going to be a ball ache, but you love the person, so the love kind of, you know, supersedes the ball ache. But nowadays, everybody wants everything to be comfortable and to be right, you know, right within their comfort zone, and to not kind of require any level of effort or no amount of physical exertion. It should just, you know, it should kind of cater to their needs, which is obviously the opposite of friendship, I think. It's like, because I always think of like good friends as like, imagine your friend wanting to go to central London to go buy a pair of jeans, but they weren't sure which ones they wanted, but they also wanted to just hang out and not be alone. That's what a good friend is. You just go with them, even though you don't want to go. You hate central London, you hate shopping, you hate people, but you go with your friend just to keep them company. That's what a friend's about. And even if they don't buy anything and they waste their time, you know, in Uniqlo for 17 hours, that's part of the sort of experience. But I think a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people are going to ask you, where you going, how long you going to be there, do you know what I mean? So people don't compromise anymore. People don't put that to the side anymore, which is sad. But hey, what can you do? It continues. The many formal and corporate adjacent ways people try to fit friends into their ever-packed work schedule clearly aren't cutting it. Like Zoom calls, adding your brunch with your girls on the Google Calendar, or even co-working. Paula Massina, a 22-year-old from Los Angeles, says that she feels like she only sees her friends when they're working alongside each other, laptops lined up across the table. Yo, that's depressing. It all has, it's all we have time to do, but we still want to have each other's company. It's unfortunate our lives have revolved around that. Messina says that she'll alternate through phases of socializing and entering hermit mode once she feels burned out from trying to achieve a work-life balance. We're living in an era of convenience, and sometimes making friends can feel inconvenient. The luxury. And we young Americans don't want to bother, even if we know that it's ultimately worth it. There's no skirting around the fact that most social activities can cost at least the amount of a train fare or an Uber fare. There's no small obstacle for the more than 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. That might be kind of true. There might be a bit where, like, because we're all making less money than we did a few years ago, or because most of us, no, let's not say that, because most of us, our money isn't going as far as it used to, the ability to just like go out on a whim isn't as on the front of your mind, because nowadays it costs more. Like, let's say 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it cost like 20 quid to go out. Now it's probably 50 or maybe close to 100. Which definitely changes things, right? Because 100 quid to meet your friend to have some after work drinks might sound a little bit excessive, when you might be able to achieve the same thing by just talking to each other on FaceTime with some beers from the shop on the table, you know? But that also isn't helping us feel fulfilled or alive or nourished and shit. So yeah, I think people have to just compromise. I think that's what it is. People just have to be grown up about it and compromise and realize that, hey, you might be a bit more broke, you might be a bit more tired, you might be a bit more exhausted mentally, physically, but having the, you know, making an effort to see your friends in real life as much as possible is obviously the key to most of these things. Because very rarely do you go see your friends and you regret going out. You might regret going out somewhere, but I don't think many people go out and see their friends and like, oh, I wish I'd never saw this person. It doesn't happen. So you know, it's always a good experience, so just go and see them anyway. Well, what do I know? I don't have any. It continues. On the other end of the time poor experience of modern friendship, sorry, big up Chris Mack in the stream chat as well. Big up Chris Mack. A neurotypical is a modern hippy dippy term for a regular person. Neurodivergent people are the ones on autism spectrum or with anxiety disorder, or the ones who think they're a fish. Okay. Big up. The ones who think they're a fish is hilarious. Big up Chris Mack. Okay, cool. I never heard of that, man. What is this phrase they said here in the link in the sentence? It was like neurotypical. I was like, neurotypical? What the fuck is neuro? Yeah, there it goes. We could start from less neurotypical styles of communication. Fucking hell, neurotypical, you know. Bloody hell. I'm a neurotypical type of listener. Anyway, on the other end of the time poor experience of the modern friendships are those who feel like they have time for socializing but can't lock anyone into solidified plans. Sarah Crawford, a 30-year-old in Atlanta, says she had an overwhelming sense that none of her close friends have time for her lately. I can't get them to respond in group chats, have meaningful conversations, or hang out as much as I'd like. It feels frustrating, and I have so many moments asking myself, do I expect too much? Are we as close as I thought? After working to prioritize more intentional living and in-person hangouts in her own life, Crawford feels like she's watching her friends get stuck in the hamster wheel. At this point, I'm just hopeful that we will still be able to keep in touch and pick up the friendship again when their lives calm down more, even if it's years from now. Yo, that's probably something a lot of people around the world feel. Right, like you can't look anyone down. You sort of feel like, is it me? Did I say something wrong? Am I being too pushy? Blah 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 blah. But I think we're just all afraid of getting locked into something that we don't want to do. Nowadays, people will basically blank you or reply to you very slowly over the period of 24 hours because they don't want you to feel like they're hyped so that you can lock them in for a plan. That's what people are avoiding basically. They're avoiding getting locked into plans. So you're getting replies, you're having a conversation with somebody and you're talking over the span of 16 hours and you're getting a message every 4 hours. You get a reply back to what you say. You reply back instantly, but then they take 4 hours. You reply back instantly, they take 4 hours just because they don't want you to say, hey, we should hang out, and then and then they kind of feel obliged to hang out and then they regret it because they want to do their own thing or they don't want to spend any money. So that's where we are at the moment. So I think nowadays you have to be willing and you have to be aware that you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable and you're going to feel a little bit ridiculous trying to make plans with people. You're going to feel like you're basically, spreading your cheeks open. You're going to feel like people are spitting in your face and shit, but you have to make that effort because I think some of us, myself included, you just need a bit of encouragement. You need someone to kind of push you. And if somebody is a bit pushy and is trying to see you and trying to hang out, more than likely you're going to buckle. And when you do buckle and give it and go, you'll be happy that you did. But you'll never make the effort yourself. So you kind of need something there for you. It's unfair. It's not, it really is unfair that you have to do that. I understand. But that's the way it is. Either you stay at home and you just, stay by yourself, or you make the effort. You have to decide. But the effort maker is going to feel it. You're going to feel very uncomfortable. You're going to feel very exposed. You're going to feel like you are chasing people around and no one likes that. But in the end, it's going to be good. But I can imagine how brutal it is when you're in a group chat and you're I'm trying to make plans with your friends. You've seen that everybody's received your message. They've all read it. No one's replying. To be fair, part of the reason why I kind of went through the whole why I'm so anti-friend was because of that. To be fair, it's probably me trying to mitigate for heartbreak, because I take things personally all the time. I can't help it. So if somebody turns me down or decides not to want to hang out with me and says no or doesn't want to be my friend, I'm gonna take that personally, and I might go fucking dark. what I mean? And which is not cool, but it's just the way that I'm made. So my decision to be hey, I'm gonna be friendless was more to sort of protect my peace, protect my mental. But I can't imagine how it is for the opposite person who's trying to make their friends come out, trying to kick them outside, trying to pull them to hang out outside, kicking and streaming. It must be fucking exhausting. It really does. I have so much sympathy and empathy for you, but I think the only way to kind of make that thing work is to just keep pulling at your friends and hope they kind of come around. That's the only way to make it work, because people like myself need a lot of encouragement, which is really sad and really bleak. But hey, let's continue. Most Americans seem to at least believe that they want the same thing when it comes to friendships: more depth, more time. The tension then lies in the fact that more people, or some people, feel like they absolutely can't, and to crave the same spare hours. Others believe we should all do our best to push back against the machine. The quote: "I understand when friends just need a day to not exist because capitalism is sucking their soul. But I'm also struggling and working hard with the extra hours clocked in and trying to pay bills and make time for friends," says Ray, 30-year-old designer from Michigan, who says they consider friends chosen family after being disowned by their family for being queer. Ray currently only has 2 close friends who they see once or twice a month. So they're actively looking for new connections on dating apps at work and at local game nights. Oh my god. Still the number one issue they face is that no one wants to make solid plans to leave their house. Coming out queer nowadays must be fucking long, innit? Because I can't imagine a more flaky, a more inconsistent, a more unreliable group of people than queer people. I couldn't imagine, because everyone's looking for a new cooler group to hang out with. I bet you in that queer community, it must be flake of heaven. It must be flake o'clock, flake 24 hours, flake a day, flake a minute. Everybody's flaking. Everybody's looking for a new plan. Everybody's looking for a cooler group, a new fucking motive. It must be so hard in the queer. I bet the queer community is like most kind of niche cool communities, where like once you find your group and your circle, you lock them down, it's cool. But when you're trying to find them, it can be brutal to lock people down, because everyone's like finding themselves. They've all come out, they've all kind of maybe, understood and tapped into their sexuality and how they see themselves recently. They're exploring things, they're traveling, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're jumping around from job to job, they're going back to study, they're interning. So they're just, their heads in the clouds constantly. So to get them to lock them down is just like, oh god, it must be so hard. So I have sympathy a lot for this person, really, really fucking do. But as per usual, they're doing the right things. Going out, being social, dating apps, work, whatever. Because I'd imagine some dating apps, even if you don't end up hooking up with some people, maybe it does turn into friendships. Like you could be lucky where you might meet someone, they're with a group of friends, it doesn't work out, relationship wise or sexually, but you end up still hanging out. Or you end up maybe befriending other people within their friendship group, and then hey, here you are, part of their kind of inner circle. So I think that's really important. People don't put themselves out there enough, because it's hard and it's awkward and it's uncomfortable, and it can sometimes be embarrassing. But I think that's the only way to kind of get over it, especially if you're in a workplace where maybe the people that you don't like too much, or they're not really your type of people. Like going out to specific things that you're into, I think it's a way to go. Like going to art gallery exhibitions if you're into that sort of stuff, book clubs, going to, just grocery shopping more often and having a smile on your face, actually doing the things that you enjoy, and then finding people that you along that way that you might like is probably the way to go. But again, it's going to be brutal. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be fucking brutal. But in the end, it will play out. Last paragraph here. For Ray, having time for quality friends, friendship, means enjoying the little things, organizing a game night, going on a walk together, grabbing a drink with somebody, going into a shoe store, or going to a store you've never been into, or even sharing a meal. The quote: I am literally so tired of every meal that I have being alone. I want to share life with people, not just catch up for 5 minutes when I run into them at the store. But many of us, myself included, have become all too accustomed to swiftly replying to our bosses, but leaving our loved ones waiting for days and weeks or months on the basis that they'll understand. After all, they're the exact same boat. We swear we'll do the game night or the proper catch up once the deadlines wane, but they never do, and convince ourselves, that next month will somehow be different. After we rest and recover alone, we'll finally have the time to be a friend. Bleak but true. Bleak but true. We always like to put our plans off. I'll catch up with this person later, I'll fix this later. And I think, one of the kind of glaring things to me, again, not to make this extra dark, but one of the things I remember I thought about when my friend unfortunately passed away, Joshua Sweeney, RIP to him, was that I think in the back of my mind, even because we hadn't spoken and we were kind of on bad terms before he passed, which kind of made me feel a bit weird posting a tribute to him in the first place anyway. But I did think in my back of my head for the longest time, we'll bump into each other along the way, and we'll be able to kind of, mend things and patch things up. And that time never comes, and then out of the blue, boom, you find out this person has a terminal illness, and bang, they're dead within a week. Do you know what I mean? And then that chance of you to reconcile is completely gone. And this person was like a proper friend of mine, like a proper old school childhood friend I've known since I was like 17, 18. And, along the way, something happened. We kind of, fell out. I can't remember why. It's even more hurtful because I can't even remember why we fell out. I swear to God, I can't. And we haven't spoken to each other for years, but I know the love was still there, I think. Anyway, and yeah, man, time just went by, and then, there wasn't any more time to kind of fix things. So, maybe the onus should always be on now, not on mañana. It should always be now. Like, try to meet your friends up now, but it's easier said than done. But I think this line here about This is unfair because this line here I think is unfair. But many of us, myself included, have become all too accustomed to swiftly replying to our bosses but leaving our friends and loved ones waiting for days. Come on, bro. You know why you reply to bosses right away. They fucking pay you. I mean, they fucking pay you. They pay your salary. They make you afford fucking your lunches and your dinners and your Shein and Temu orders. Like, that's why you reply to your bosses and people that work swiftly. And that's why your friends get, you know, left on seen or get left on unread. Come on. We know what going. We know what I want. If your friends paid you money, you'd probably, you know, reply to the messages a lot quicker. But friends probably suck money out of you as opposed to actually give you money. But yeah, big up this person for writing this article. Much appreciated. Big up Laura Pitcher. Big up Dazed. I'll put the article link in the description for you to check out yourself if you need be. I'll actually put it in the chat now if you want to see it yourself. But big up Laura Pitcher, big up Days, absolutely brilliant article. The title is called "Does Anyone Have Time to Be a Good Friend Anyone?" Does anyone have time to be a good friend anymore? It's available now on Days, and the link will be obviously in the description, and the link will be available for those of you who want to check it out, of course, later on as well. So big up everybody for tuning in. I'll put it in the chat now for you guys to see if need be. Let's continue here. What are you saying in the stream chat, guys? Leave the group chat before the group chat leaves you. Exactly, yeah, exactly. Big up Andre. Big up Andre. The group chat before the group chat leaves you is fucking hilarious. Big up Sarlux. Big up Z. LMAR, don't reply to my bosses unless I'm on the clock. Yeah, I do that too. Leave them. What I was saying here. Big up Straight Cow. I would have a hard time if I was documenting my life on IGFB and TT and YouTube and OF, you know. Who's documented? There probably is vloggers on OF, probably, isn't it? There probably is, but I don't know who they are. And yeah, big up everybody on stream chat. I appreciate you. Let's continue on. The biggest news of the day, and this is the part of the reason the title of the show is the way that it is now. If you're tuning in live, it's called Ding Dong, Amy's Gone. This is the biggest news, and such good news, actually. I'm so over the moon about this, because for the longest time I was thinking to myself, like, what is it going to take for this person to lose their job? Because at first I was quite worried. I was like, oh shit, this person's job is tied directly to the mayorship of London, and if the mayor keeps getting re-elected, then most likely this person will keep their job forever. It'd be like a job for life. But it looks like that's not the case. It looks like there is, maybe probably because of the lack of, you know, good work they done during the time, or maybe because they just, you know, were tired and bored of the job, who knows. But regardless, some of the greatest news ever I have to report on this particular pod. Amy Lammy has stepped down as London Night Czar. Amy Lammy has stepped down as London Night Czar. Honestly, some of the best news I've heard in a long freaking time. I'm so happy. She has been probably one of the worst Night Czars ever in history, because it's the first one ever, but she has done such a terrible job. It's complete lackluster. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Night Czar role in general was basically probably more of an advisory role anyway. There's probably not a lot of power in that role. It was more symbolic, but the idea behind it was that, you know, London nightlife contributes a hell of a lot of money to the overall UK GDP. I think it's, you know, it's a high percentage. I forgot the actual number, but essentially what the idea behind it was to have somebody who could kind of represent London nightlife and kind of advocate for the nightlife industry, which covers hospitality, bars, clubs, all that likelihood underneath it. Well, unfortunately for Amy Lammy, during the time that she had the job, obviously COVID happened, recession happened, so she had the job in probably one of the worst times ever in the history of this country. It obviously affected everything, but I think the overall inability of her to kind of be able to be the spokesperson, or to be the shield, or to kind of champion clubs, and to champion the need to have smaller clubs especially, was really concerning. Because throughout the time that she's been London Night Czar, if I'm not mistaken, I'd say probably maybe over 1,000 nightclubs have closed in London alone, let alone the UK. Of course, she doesn't cover the UK, but London specifically, about 1,000 nightclubs have closed during the time that she's been London Night Czar, I would say, off the guess, the top of my head. But the most concerning thing about it has been this abundance of local councils basically putting the clamp down on nightclubs and bars in general, and requiring most places to have a late license. Case in point, Hackney. Hackney for the longest time when I was growing up was like the place to be if you wanted to go out at night, and there was loads of bars and clubs you could go to that would open past 12 a.m. You could go and drink at blah blah blah. Yes, some of them won't open until 6, but there was plenty of places you could go to in Dalston, in Hackney, in fucking Shoreditch that would be open past 12. Nowadays, that entire strip, I think from like Liverpool Street all the way to Stoke Newington, you probably would be able to find maybe less than 5 places from Liverpool Street all the way to Stoke Newington that are open past 12. Most bars, clubs and bars have all fucking closed along the time. And the worst thing to happen has been this influx of these late licenses. So a lot of these local councils have now decided to put most of the power in the hands of the residents who live in that borough, and there's less of a kind of compromise that's been had between like the residents and obviously some of the people that work in nightlife. So now a lot of bars and clubs are having to fill out these late licensing forms in order to allow them to open after 12. But then a lot of these clubs aren't open after 12. Most of these clubs or bars along, in Hackney Borough specifically, close before 12. So if you're a person trying to open a club or a bar, it doesn't make economic sense to open one because you're only allowed to run before 12. And if you want special dispensation, you have to fill out a particular form and make the people aware and then planning, which kind of takes responsibility out of things. So essentially, it's decimated nightlife within Hackney, which was probably the plan, I'd imagine. I think the residents there probably had enough, which I can understand. I think if you lived in Hackney and you've kind of lived through the, let's say the early the 2005s onwards, you had to put up with a lot. You had to put up with smelling piss in your stairwell, probably piss in your front lawn, shit everywhere, baggies, rubbish, like so many things, right? Antisocial behavior. You probably had to put up with a lot. But I think, as usual, when it comes to places like London and nightlife in general, there should always be a compromise. There should always be like a middle ground. It should never be weighted always on the side of the clubs, and it should never be always weighted on the side of the bars of the residents. But nowadays it is, and unfortunately, Amy Lamy has become the beacon of this because she's been so, how do you call it? I don't know. She's just been so lacking in oomph in fight. Really, I think the only thing that she could say that she's done positively during her time as a night czar is maybe prevented Fabric from closing. But I think Fabric is probably, again, I love Fabric, well, I love it as an institution or as a club, but Fabric probably deserves to close anyway, right? They've got themselves in trouble many a times. I think people have died there in the last 18 months twice, right? Inside of there, the security is fucking annoying, the clubbing experience is fucking woeful, the bookings are really good, and the space is really sick, especially room 2. But if Fabric closes and has to close, it's its own fault. It's got no one else to blame. But she was around when it was kind of going through a troubled time, and that she was kind of, let's say responsible for keeping it open, but I don't think that's the case, but let's give that to her. Another win she could probably say is maybe the opening of Printworks, maybe at the time that she was around. That might be something that she would maybe claim as a win. But apart from that, it's been absolutely shocking. And I think the main thing that's really decimated the clubbing scene in London, obviously the local boroughs clamping down on opening hours of clubs and bars, but also it's been this complete lack of venues under, let's say, 750 capacity. Like there's not many like Folds in London, and that's really unforgivable. Fold, as great as it is, I've always said it's an amazing club and definitely our best in London, but we should have one in each area of London. Really, we should have at least one place that opens until 6, and the fact that we don't in that kind of style, in that capacity, is really a shame. But we also are lacking in clubs at 300 under. All these little small clubs and bars that I felt like help to quell antisocial behavior, because if you have a lot of 300 capacity to 500 capacity venues, it helps to kind of spread out the load of people. So not everybody's going to all of these super clubs, or not everyone's going to kind of 1 or 2 clubs. Because now at the moment it feels like everybody either goes to Fold, they go to Venue MOT, maybe a couple of more, and that's it. So they're all getting piled into these same places. You're all coming out all at the same time. And then, of course, antisocial behavior kind of spills out onto the street. So, yeah, she's been absolutely terrible. And she definitely has been, I think, stealing a living for a long time. And it felt like she was going to keep the job forever and ever and ever. I think lately, a lot of the bad press she's been getting hasn't even been due to her job. I think it's been due to her earnings. I think recently she got given a raise, like, making tons of money, hardly working. Don't get me wrong, she's a fucking hustle, she's a fucking bad biche for being able to haggle this role in the first place, which she had no right to have in the first place. She's not even that tied to the fucking nightlife scene. I've never seen her about. She allegedly had some popular party back in the day I ever went to, but again, who knows about it? It was some fucking thing that happened in some shit bar in Soho or something. Like, it made no sense. We've got so many people in London who could advocate for the nightlife industry way better than she could. Again, the role is a bit more, you know, it's more of an advisory kind of like image thing role, I'm sure, day to day. But still, she's been absolutely woeful, so I'm happy to see her step down. I'm not gonna lie. Let's read the article courtesy of the BBC. It says Amy Lammy to quit as London Night Czar. It says Amy Lammy, who will quit at the end of the month, said that she felt it was the right time to move on, adding that it had been a real privilege to serve Londoners. The role was created by Mayor Sadiq Khan following his election in 2016. He and Lammy, whose salary rose to 132,000 this year, and faced questions about her record in boosting nightlife. Honestly, we've had the record amount of clubs I think this year alone, 65 clubs have closed in London, and it's not even the end of the year yet. 65 in total, probably from the time being in the role until now. I'd say probably 1,000 have closed, and she was making over 130 grand a year just working. I think technically, I saw someone on Twitter say she might work like 3 days a week or something. 3 days a week. These government jobs are so cushy, man. 3 days a week, 130k plus. God almighty, God bless her, bro. The mayor's office credited her with having supported hundreds of venues since 2016. She supported herself, innit? She definitely supported herself, mate. She has not missed a meal. Never missed a meal. She looks fucking hydrated. She looks fed. She looks moisturized. The hair looks shampooed. You know, she sleeps well. Nice soft fucking mattress. Good pillows. God almighty. Amy fucking Lammy. I think she's Canadian as well. That's the thing as well. This fucking thick American Canadian accent she's got. Like, she looks the way she looks. Like, I don't know, man. This is questions have been raised about whether Lammy had necessary powers to make meaningful differences in London's nightlife, particularly given the licenses decision remain in the hands of borough councils. Yeah, this is honestly, have they got an article about this, by the way? Let's see, because that license thing, man, is just the way Hackney, because there was a point, I remember there was a time when Hackney Borough were more trying to steer that borough to be more of a restaurant borough than a bar and club borough. But I feel like even restaurants have kind of waned. I don't feel like there's a lot of restaurants in Hackney as there used to be. It just feels like the residents have had enough. They would said no more clubs, no more bars, no more fucking restaurants. Fuck you, young people get fucked. And now Hackney is turning into Stoke Newton, basically. The whole of that Hackney Dalston, Hackney Central, that whole area is turning, because Stoke Newton, they killed all the clubs. The bars stay open until 11. That's it, and it's fucking done. But the borough, they've done a good job in terms of clamping. They've killed it, mate. They absolutely destroyed that borough with nightlife, which, you know, maybe is beneficial if you live there. Let's just see this about the boroughs. London night is very struggling. Strict licensing laws and problems with crime and eye-watching costs are hitting London nightlife. A public meeting this year, industry representative urged the mayor and a new government to give the sector more support. It comes after City Hall figures revealed that London suffered a net loss of about 40 pubs this year to March 2023, despite the pub employees growing. Mayor Sadiq Khan said last week that there were challenges post-pandemic for all global cities, but argued that London is ahead of the curve. No, we're not ahead of the crowd. We're not ahead of the crowd. We're below the crowd, mate. Petty crime. London has dedicated Night Czar, cross-party issues, assembly on Wednesday. Footfall has stagnated. Further concerns were heard on Thursday when Emma Best, deputy the Conservative, hosted her own roundtable. From a safe perspective, the huge deterrent is going to places like Soho. Petty crime is rife. I don't think the issue is crime in Soho. I think the issue is finding a place that's open after 12. That's what I think it is. Tensions. Yeah, they're coming into central London. They're looking for places to go and have a good time and spend their money. Soho's rolling up the pavements at 11 p.m. If you're not a member of a club, sorry tourists, take your money and back to a hotel and go to bed. That's become the new thing now. People are now going to like private members club to go and hang out because those places are usually open around the clock, or going to casinos, which I think is depressing as fuck, going into a club that's brightly lit and everyone's gambling and fucking, you know, miserable, losing money. having short spurts where they might make money. Like, it's just, honestly, nightlife in London, if you're not into clubbing, is really difficult, really fucking difficult, which might explain why people are just staying in. Asked about the issues with the mayor's question time, Mr. Khan acknowledged there were some challenges. The good news is that we're ahead of the crowd. No, we're not ahead of the crowd. Ahead of the crowd. Ahead of the crowd when you can't get a pint after 11 p.m. Fucking hell. Don't get me wrong. I know my country. I know my people. Maybe we shouldn't be having pints after 11. Maybe someone could argue and say, you know what? Maybe Londoners shouldn't have pints after 11. That's a good argument, but I don't know, man. He said that there had been a change of lifestyle habits since the pandemic, which saw a last UK lockdown ended July 23rd, 2021. Mr. Khan acknowledged that the labour shortages were a major part of the sector. In addition, this is lobbying governments to make changes to the VAT system, fair business schemes, and more support for the policies. But it's just, for me, it's a license, man. There's too much power being given to, honestly, I think the licensing, exactly, licensing requirements, that's the major killer that's killed Hackney for me. This more, giving all the power to the residents and to the boroughs to control what clubs open and when they open, and having no ability to compromise or to meet each other in the middle is really killing us. But what do I know? Let's continue. The mayor's office said that Lammy had been instrumental in reopening Fabric. Instrumental, Let's chill out. At first they say she has no powers, and then they say, look, questions have been raised about Lammy had necessary powers to have meaningful difference in London. First they're questioning if she has the powers, and now they're saying she had the power to reopen Fabric. Let's make your mind up, please. Securing the future of print work, securing the opening of Black Cap after 10 years of closure, and enabling Drumshed to reopen. Imagine boasting about opening a club in a former IKEA factory, and also boasting about Printworks, two of the most devoid of atmosphere and emotion, two of the most devoid of like personality, ambiance, and feeling spaces ever. So empty. You pay £50 to go into Printworks, and all you get met with is a good place to go take Instagram pictures. Fucking terrible club. Drumshed's terrible too. Not even clubs, they're just spaces with like speakers inside and like lights and shit. It's like cool productions. I'm impressed that they keep it running. The sound is fucking garbage. The crowd that goes there is terrible. The DJs they book are horrendous. Like, God almighty. It's also pointed to a 500,000 nighttime enterprises zone program, a scheme aimed at boosting a nighttime economy in selected town centres and launching a women's night safety charter which strives to support women's safety at the what? What is it's the first I've heard of these things. Khan said, I'd like to thank Amy for everything that she's done in the capital as a first ever night czar. She has worked hard to help London nightlife through huge challenges, including the pandemic and cost of living crisis. I know she continues to be a key part of the industry going forward. No, she won't. Get fucked. If I walk past her in the underground station, I'll tell her to get fucked. Fuck off, Amy Lammy. Wage thief. You're stealing a living. You're just stealing a living. It continues. Lammy said it had been a huge honor for me to be London's and UK's first ever night czar. The first and hopefully the last. But the first and definitely one of the worst. But after 8 years, I believe that it's time for me to move on. Oh, thank you. 8 years of claiming a fucking salary and doing absolutely nothing. Thanks. It's been real privilege to serve the Londoners and deliver the mayor. I'm deeply proud of what I've been achieved. It's unclear whether Lammy will be replaced as a night czar. Probably not in it. They probably won't replace her because, that role is probably useless in the, in the actual doing of things. And they probably don't want more scrutiny to be placed upon them, but we probably need a proper one more than ever. I know they've got night czars in New York. I think they've got them one in Amsterdam, but we need one here. We need one badly, man. We need someone to advocate for the fucking nightlife industry and to at least push back a little bit with the licenses, at least a tiny bit. At least advocate for fucking venues 750 capacity under. Come on, brother, please, for the love of God. Come on, it can't just be like gentrification everywhere. Like, let's have some fucking meeting in the middle. I know gentrification can bolster the economy and the local community. I know it has some benefits, but let's not go all the way. Like, every cool area in London now is doing that. Every cool area where people start throwing raves and having little studio spaces and shit immediately gets gentrified. Spaces that you used to club into get turned into fucking high-rise, flats and apartments and co-working spaces, and then immediately anything left over gets deaded. It's not even like they try to like integrate it. They just kill it. It's just, which doesn't make no sense. Like, why would you move to this area and then when all the clubs are closed? You moved here because of the ambiance. You moved here because you had a good time at this particular club and you want to live near and you like the transport connections, and then you move here and then you want to close them all. It's like, what the fuck? Like, can we not meet each other in the middle? Can we maybe, okay, we're open until 6. Can we maybe open until 3? Is that okay? Nah, just close completely. Or what they do nowadays, they don't mean to tell you to close. They reduce your hours, which then forces you to close. Because if you're a nightclub and then you can't open it past 3, like, what's the point of being a nightclub? You know what I mean? You just might as well close it down. So, ugh. So yeah, RIP and good riddance to fucking Amy Lammy. You did a fucking terrible job. You stole a living, and yeah, you will not be missed. You honestly will not be missed. Let's see some articles here. People talking about her. Any articles here? Yeah, there we go. Here, let's do this one. We drink. Let's see this one. Big up City AM. Let's see what City AM had to say about Amy Lammy. City AM. Look at this. This is a great headline. We drink to the departure of Amy Lammy, but all the pubs are shut. Good riddance to Amy Lammy, Sadiq Khan's useless night czar who did nothing to tackle regulation strangling London's pubs, bars and nightclubs. The United States has been responsible for furnishing us with many of the most iconic sound bites of free market and small state advocates. Milton Friedman's "Nothing is so permanent as a temporary government program" and Ronald Reagan's contention that the most terrifying words in English language are "I'm from the government, I'm here to help" both spring to mind. Unfortunately, the United States has also given us one of the most useless bureaucrats in recent times, at least relative to their gross pay. In talking, of course, about Amy Lammy, the mayor's London Night Czar, who has announced that she is standing down from her post after a long but very well remunerated 8 years. It still makes me laugh that the first night czar we ever hired was some American woman. Like, what? Like, who's plugged into like this? Like, she was a part of what the Soho nightlife scene. It's like, what? The Soho nightlife scene, the queer huh? Like, oh my god. And what did she achieve? Well, in a statement from the mayor's office, said that she was instrumental in reopening Fabric and protecting 100 Club, securing the future of Printworth, securing the opening of Black Cup and 10 years of closure, and they've been judged to open. How does that compare, though, with the 3,011 pubs and bars and nightclubs that have closed across London since March 2020? Okay, so I was wrong. I said most likely 1,000 clubs have closed since she's been in the job. But this guy is saying since March 2020, 3,011 bars, pubs and clubs have closed. God almighty. Reagan was right. We should want government to be less involved with our lives and our industries. Perhaps Amy Lammy took those words to heart, recognizing that less that she was involved the better, although it wouldn't excuse the hundreds of thousands of pounds she took from the taxpayers. But the precise problem with nightlife is the overwhelming extent of the government interference, and Amy Lammy, along with Mayor Sadiq Khan, had an influence needed to help to ease the enormous burdens placed upon businesses. The reasons behind London's stuttering nightlife, as identified by Adam Smith Institute, is the sky-high rates of alcohol duty and the absurdly restrictive planning and licensing laws that give local authorities and their NIMBY residents significant powers over things like opening times, noise restrictions and so on, as well as the powers to restrict new housing developments and driving up house price and reducing disposable income. Exactly. And those two things are so significant. That's why when I first went to Berlin, I was kind of wanking about it so much and talking about it ad nauseum on here, and I'm sure boring a ton of my listeners, because it was so crazy to go to a place where obviously all the clubs are open 24 hours, if not like 3 days in a row, and also the noise, like the fucking sound was immaculate. It was so fucking loud, but it wasn't crazy loud where it would fucking burn your ears off. You could still hear people talking to you, but you went to a club and you actually got great sound, and you went to a pub and you also was able to stay there for like more than 10 hours, which weirdly enough, even though that whole city is kind of run by fucking drugs and alcohol and shit, it usually made you more sensible with how you would indulge yourself in those things, weirdly enough, because I think in London, because of the restrictive hours of going out, you tend to try to pack in more because you have less time. But when you go to places like Europe, where they got like maybe a bit more lax, especially places like Berlin, you tend to kind of spread out your sort of drinking and drug taking throughout the night or throughout the weekend, because you have quote unquote all the time in the world. So these restrictive hours in London, yes, they probably helped to let residents sleep well at night, but if anything, it's probably made issues worse, because the 4 hours that the clubs are open, people are going super hard and doing way too much. It continues. Now, many of the solutions weren't the gift of Amy Lammy, but did she or the mayor ever lobby ministers to reduce alcohol duty? When Hackney Council reduced opening hours of businesses on Westminster, Council withdrew pavement licenses for premises in Soho following the pandemic, did Lammy and her office impose all the pressure that it could? Did she suggest to get the boss that he might accelerate his house building program a little? Honestly, forget maybe the reducing the hours of opening is hard in Hackney Council because it's probably way more residents than clubs and bars. I get it, but removing the pavement licenses for premises in Soho makes no sense. Part of the atmosphere and the hustle and bustle is having people around the pavement be able to drink and hang out. Like, honestly, like some of the easy wins we could have as a city, which we don't have, it makes no sense. And when in July it became clear that England would reach the Euros, why did we end up with an embarrassing situation where the Metropolitan Police posted on X, please remember there are no outdoor screens showing the Euro 2024 final in central London? Imagine that. Imagine that. There was nowhere in central London outdoors where you could watch England against Spain in the Euro final. And if we would have won it, that would have been the best place to be, right? Cheering on your team in the fucking capital, in the center, with fellow people all around the world, maybe some other Spanish people too watching. Perhaps I'm being unfair. After all, the propensity of London councils to crush nightlife in their boroughs is real. One of Lammy's proclaimed successes was her to keep the nightclub fabric open. The initial closure of the venue wasn't because it wasn't profitable. It was consistently ranked as one of the best clubs in the world for many years. Instead, it was because of Islington Council revoked its license. But that speaks to the crux of the issue. It is the government that is a problem, and the local government specifically. If Lammy wanted to turn London into a 24 city, her task was to take on the town halls that make that an impossibility. That she did not do. Instead, she was focused on setting nighttime enterprises zones in Bromley that meant the series of events, including a silent disco and street food and sports and well-being, interactive light displays, gimmicks, basically. You know what's really funny about the 24-hour city? We finally have 24-hour transport, basically, especially on the weekends. You can basically get a tube home in most places in London, but there's nowhere to go. So we put that infrastructure together. We probably hired more drivers, more shifts are available, more money spent, blah, 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 all that investment. But there's no real need for it now because we're not a 24-hour city anymore. These clubs and bars aren't open after 12. So everyone's kind of getting home before 12. And then the people that are staying out after 12 are just, I don't know, maybe working late or whatever, or just hanging out in the street. But there's nowhere to go clubs-wise, like not many places to go. Ahead of the last financial year, Amy Lammy received a pay rise of 40%. She was... Honestly, you have to salute her, man. You have to salute her. That's real girl boss shit. As much as I despise that woman, you have to give her props. You have to give her props. She got a pay rise of 40% in the last year. God almighty, to almost 120,000. What were the expectations placed on her? Well, when I asked the Greater London Authority for her key performance indicators in that year, the results were embarrassing. She had just won in 2023-2024 the number of businesses supported through the 24-hour economy program. For anyone out in London over the coming weeks and months after 11 p.m, have a look around and see the evidence of that support. You'll struggle to find it. Let's hope that the position of Night Czar is only the temporary one, and at least then it will save taxpayers a bit of cash that they can spend at a local pub before it closes. I agree with that one. I fucking agree with that one. So yeah, RIP fucking Amy Lammy. You will not be missed. You were fucking terrible out of your job, but you got a lot out of it. So credit to you for fucking hustling and figuring out a way to kind of, get a really cushy government job. They didn't have to work too hard for us. I have to salute you. I can't hate that. You can't hate the player, hate the game sort of type of thing. But fucking hell, what an absolute useless person. Absolute useless person. If ever I send someone a picture, if I send you a picture of Amy Lammy, know that I'm on useless time. If I ever send you a DM, an iMessage or whatever with Amy Lammy's face, know that I'm on useless time. Just know that I'm on absolute useless time. Absolute useless time. Anyways. Cool. Last thing before I move, and then I'm gonna set up a random show in about 20 minutes. So those of you who are waiting for that, random show will be about 20 minutes. So let me just run on to the last thing here. Last thing I want to talk about here before I leave you will be the Berghain November program. That's right, Berghain November program is out. I feel like these programs are coming out a lot earlier. Is it me, or does it feel like I feel like they usually come out the following month's one, or the months in advance will be like on the 10th of the month that you're in. Usually it's around then. But I feel like they're coming out a lot sooner. I wonder why that is. Who knows? Either way, November 2024 program for Berghain. Here's what they have listed and some of the things that I am thinking about going to myself, and things that maybe you should keep an eye on as well. The legendary DJ Hell, one of like a legit OG techno DJ. I don't know, he must be like in his 60s, or maybe at least at the moment. He's still an incredible DJ. Still, he's one of those people who maybe he's not the most technically proficient in terms of like crazy mixing things that you see on TikTok, which the kids love. But in terms of selection, similar to like Boris, like out of this world, you know, very eclectic, very far reaching, kind of what people deem to be an open format DJ, plays loads of genres, everything from synth pop to EBM to Italo to disco to house to techno, industrial. He plays all across the board. Big fan of DJ Hell. So DJ Hell's playing 10 Years Time Passages, featuring Bin, Craig Richards, DJ Hell, Latress, and Nicholas Loltz. That's actually a really good lineup. That's like minimal heaven in a way. It's kind of like a, you know, it's an old boys club, with the exception of maybe Bin. I don't know if he might be the youngest, I think, of all these DJs, but still, that's a pretty decent one there. One for the lads. That kind of sounds like a Club Divisionaire lineup. I'm not gonna lie, it's giving Club Divisionaire, this one, but it's still pretty good. The following week, the following Saturday, that's the first club night of November, the 2nd of the 11th. This is a really good one, actually. You have Terence Fixamer playing live, Aurora Halal. You have Maron, big up Maron. He's playing there. He's been getting quite a lot more gigs there recently, over recent years. Some people hate the Maron crowd because they hate the Earthday community crowd, but again, Maron's sick. You've also got FaZe Fatale, Olivia Mendez, Sterak, Vincent Newman, and Virginia. Sick lineup. Again, Virginia's starting to play more in Berghain nowadays, you know, flipping between in and out of Panorama and Berghain, which is pretty sick. So that will be pretty good to go and check out. And FaZe Fatale, sick DJ personally for me. Great productions as well, so that will be a good one to go check. Who's these guy? I forgot, what's his friend he plays with? I feel like he hasn't played in a while. I forgot his name. The guy with the mustache who plays with FaZe Fatale sometimes, and they're together in a group. What's his fucking name? I wish I remember. Let me just check his. I wish I remember what his name is. But I feel like I haven't seen him on a Berghain lineup in a long time. I wonder what happened. I hope he hasn't got cancelled or something. Is it Silent Servant? I think I'm Silent Servant. I don't think I'm Silent Servant. Who am I thinking of? It's a guy that they're in a duo together and they do some stuff. I forgot what his fucking name is. Let's go top songs. What's his fucking name? He played together with him before. Or I saw this guy actually playing in Berghain. I think for where was I? I was somewhere. I think he played at the same time that I was there. Let me just check my phone here and see. I forgot what date it was. It was a particular date where I think I might went during the New Year's Eve or something. And I saw this guy is playing. I think it might be the 90th. Let's go program. Let's go all months. Let's go year. It might have been 2022. Was it that one? What's his fucking name? I saw him in an XXX room. Not Cormac. What's his fucking name? He's got like a tash. It's not his boys cruise. What's her fucking name? Oh, well, I can't remember at the moment. Let me see if I can do 2023. Maybe it was that year. December. Let's scroll down. That's it, Pablo Boozy. Yeah, what's happened to Pablo Boozy? When's the last time he played there? Maybe I'm going a bit mad. What's happened to Pablo Boozy? I feel like he hasn't played at Berghain in a while. Let's check RA a minute here. Where's Pablo Boozy? Where is he? Because he's fucking sick. I think I might have seen him play a back-to-back with FaZe Fatale, or maybe he was playing on the night that I was there during the fucking birthday. Either way, he's fucking incredible. Like, he's really fucking good. I would say, what style? I'd say probably like a Gerd Jansen style-ish, stylistically, like a party DJ. I'd say anything, again, from new disco to house, techno and stuff, but he's all over the place. But I feel like I haven't seen him play Berghain in a long friggin' time. Let's go to past events and let's get some things up on your list and see. Maybe I'm bugging and he has played there before, but I feel like I haven't seen him in Berghain in a long time. Maybe he's got a residency somewhere else. That might be the reason why. But let me see if I can get something up here and see if I'm bugging or not. Let's scroll down and Let's do Control F. Let's write Berg. Did he play? When did he play? No, he hasn't played. Oh, he did. No, he did play. He played that a bite night, a bitter bite night in when's that last time he played? In May. But he hasn't been on a regular club night in a while then, isn't it? Shit. Maybe he might play for the 20th anniversary in December, because they have a 20th anniversary coming at Berghain in December. Maybe he might play there, but I haven't seen him. Yeah, he's not been at Berghain for a while. So that bite night was okay. The last club night he played at was on the 13th of April of this year. Okay, cool. So he has played there before, but it's not been a long time. I wonder what's going on with his lack of inclusion over there. I wonder what's happening. I wonder what's going on there. Yeah, there he is. Pablo, see, that's a sick lineup. Bin, Gerd Jansen, Pablo Bluesy, Paramida, Roy Perez, Victor, Moxie also from the UK. She's sick DJ as well. She's a good party time DJ too. So yeah, it's a good lineup, man. That was in April. Anyway, going back to the list, you've obviously got Face Fatal, Panorama Bar on the 2nd of November. You've got Davenport, Etap Kyle again. Etap Kyle, man, he can't make his mind up, innit? Panobar, Berghain, Panobar. I still remember that fucking cringy post that he put on his Instagram about changing things and a different approach and all this fucking sobbing and crying and emotion and all these lines of words about just, you know, playing house or playing techno. And now all of a sudden, look at him, he's back in Panorama again. He can't fucking make his mind up, but he's a sick DJ, so I'll give him a bly. You got somebody called Easgy. That's a nice name. I like who's Easgy. I've never heard of an Easgy. Who's Easgy? Easgy SoundCloud. Let's see who this person is. I've never heard of an Easgy. Who's Easgy? I like the name though. Easgy. Is that which one is which? Is that the person there? That one or the DJ Easgy? Let's see who it is. Easgy has Ilik. This might be the person. Easgy, right? Bookings. Easgy. Oh, is this person Turkish? Okay, is it called Ezgi or is it Easgy? I'm not too sure. Let's say it's Ezgi. Ezgi Haslilik. Ezgi Hasilik embarks on a musical journey from age of 6, mastering. Okay, cool. She's definitely going to be a good DJ. DJs that come from a classical background are never bad. They're always freakishly good. Production wise, DJ wise, it's impossible not to be good at DJing. The DJing is the lowest form of musical expression, right? It's the lowest thing. It's like everyone can do it. It requires very little skill. So if you have a classical background and you're classically trained and you can play a fucking instrument like the violin, you're definitely going to be a good DJ. It's impossible not to be one. As resident DJ and booking manager of the Istanbul's esteemed underground venue, mini music hall, Ezgi has solidified her reputation as a pioneering figure in the electronic music scene. She appears in festivals worldwide, including Fusion Festival, Gabrick, Summer Contrast, Echoes of Argot. Notably in October 2023, she made her debut at Berghain Panorama Bar, and she'll be back in the DJ booth in May. Ezgi captivates audiences with her diverse music section and continues pushing her boundaries. Okay, Ezgi might be a bit of a nice one. Let's see this. Let's play a little clip from a mix, from a vinyl only mix on Sunday. Let's see what this is saying. Pick up Ezgi. Okay, Ezgi sounds good. Yeah, Ezgi's the vibe. I like Ezgi. Pick up Ezgi. Let's see what the ender is. What's the ender? Ezgi's good. Ezgi's sick. Big up Ezgi. So I recommend you check that one out. Kiki Lomo as well is playing there. Again, less said about her the better. She's fucking sick. Marie Moxeria is playing as well. You know I love her. She's fucking amazing. So that's a fucking good lineup actually. Berghain room and Pano room is full of fucking big boys. Monty Luke, Baracco, and Portable. So that's a big one to check out. Toy Tonics night. Oh, that's a good night, isn't it? Toy Tonics on the Panorama Bar. Dan Shake. Oh, what's that one track that Dan Shake had back in the day that was everyone was going crazy at? Maybe it was a couple of years ago. It was, I think I was playing it a lot during my sets as well. What was that one track that everyone was talking about? What was it? Is it Cash? Or is it Daisy Dance? Was it Daisy Dance? Let me see. Which one was it? Was it Daisy Dance? Was it this one? Daisy Dance? Was it Burt's Groove? Cash? I forgot which one it was. The track that he had that everyone was going crazy over. Maybe it was a remix, but if you know, you know. Dan Shake's Force also good. G Lane, Genie, Capote, and Sam Ruffalo. Again, you know how much, guys, I love Toy Tonics. I went specifically to Berlin to go to a Toy Tonics night at fucking Club Ost, or no, Oxy, I think, back in the day, a couple of years ago actually. That was fucking phenomenal. So you know how much I love fucking Toy Tonics. They absolutely smash it. Great party house kind of collective. So recommend you check them out. They're basically like the new, they're probably the new, more cool version of kind of music. Kind of. Not really, but kind of. Pick up Toy Tonics. Following Saturday on the 11th of November, you've got the club night. You got Atta, legendary guy behind Robert Johnson and shit. He's playing. Bo Williams, Chloe, Francisca Burns, Lauren, Marcel Dietman playing, who had an amazing set, I think, recently on, I forgot what that stream was I watched recently where he played. I forgot where it was, somewhere in Europe. He fucking killed it. Massimiliano Pellegrali playing. Mike Starr, again, legend, really good, love him. Azu Tiwaline, Quartz, and Norman Nodge in Berghain main room. That's an interesting one, isn't it? There's only 3 DJs playing in a Berghain main room. Weird, isn't it? I've never seen it that short. Pano bar's full, and then Berghain main room's only got 3 people playing. So what, are they all going to be playing like 12-hour sets or 10-hour sets? Shit. Then what else you got here? You got a Reef night happening on the 15th. Lena Wilkins is playing again from what was that place in fucking, I forgot that bar. Salon des Amateurs, legend from Salon des Amateurs. She's gonna be there on the following Saturday the 16th. You got this one Berghain Club night. You got Barker, Blasha and Alat again, UK massive, big up them. Elissa B, Oscar Molero, Renee Wise, Steffi's. That's a hard lineup, innit? Barker, Blasha and Alat, Elissa B, Oscar Molero, Renee Wise, Steffi, Zisco. You know how much I suck off Renee Wise, so that's definitely, you know, I'm getting on both knees for that one. Steffi playing, you know how much I love her, and Oscar Molero. Like, honestly, that Stone, I recommend everyone, if you haven't checked it out, please do. I think it's on the RT channel, but just check out his name, put Stone Techno Festival, or Stone Techno Festival. Oh my god, the recorded stream they did of him at that festival, legitimately amazing. I think I actually downloaded it. I think it's about 3 hours, and I've been listening to it on my phone since it fucking released. It's absolutely phenomenal. Legitimately one of the best sort of DJ techno mixes I've heard in a long time. Incredible mixing, incredible playing style. Everything's out of this world. Yeah, Stone Techno 2024 RT concert, Oscar Molero. It's like 3 hours long. That's a fucking sick lineup. Oh, look at Saul. Wow, this is weird. Christine and the Queens. So they've got a new name. I didn't know that. The band Christine and the Queens have been renamed to Raheem Redcar. Really? I had no idea that happened. When did that happen? Christine and the fucking Queens is an amazing what do you call it? Indie alternative band. Super fun records and tracks and shit. They're called now Raheem and the Queens. What is it called? Raheem and Redcar. Obviously the best song in it ever, Girlfriend. Like, oh, I used to play that so much in my sets. I actually rinsed that fucking track, man. Yeah, Chris, that album, Chris is still banging on my lineup. La Vita Nova. Shit, they've got a new name. I didn't know they have a new name. Cool. They've got a new name. So they'll be sick to watch live. That's an actual, that lineup is incredible. That's probably one of the most balanced ones there. Then you've got on Panorama, you got Bashka, Cormac playing, one of the best disco DJs in the world. Cormac for me, he's like a force of nature. He's fucking phenomenal. Anytime I see Cormac playing on the lineup, I try to go. Gabrielle Kwarteng, big up her as well. She's sick. Jennifer Lovelace, Natalie Seres, Paula Tape, Carrie Nation. What else you got here? Earth Club night happening. I'm not really too fond of that lineup. 23rd, you've got Steph Mandesessis, Alina Tar, Blanca, Chami, Francois X, who I like, Justin Perry I like, Fadi Moham live, nice. Avalon Emerson. Oh, she's not been on the lineup for a while, innit? That's gonna be good. People love Avalon Emerson. I gotta be honest, like I wasn't too fond of her making that switch to having a band and shit, but that album that she put out with that, or under the new late moniker, I forgot what it's called, but whatever it was called, I remember listening to it. It was fucking good. That was really good. It surprised me, to be honest, because I wanted to hate, but it was really fucking good. So big up Avalon Emerson. Who else you got here? Something called Galligos, Luzi, Manpower, Nicole Ogazon. She's sick. Stella Zerky as well. Hunger to Create Night. Curses is playing also. Big up Curses. I love Curses. Actually got a new record out with what's his face? Doesn't Curses have a new record out on Innovision, I think, that just released recently? Hammam playing as well. Then the last club night of the month on the 30th is a really good one, actually. Answer Code Request, DJ Rush, FRJPLA, Leah Ochi, big up her, UK stand. Well, not, you know, she's not from here, but you know, she used to do a lot of nights here as well. Moritz von Oldswell, people love. Queltz are playing. Queltz gets a lot of love as well. Tasha just dropped a new album too. What Ninja Junior was loving. Benedict Fry in Panabar, DJ Holographic, Geordie Anson, my favorite. Oh yeah, yo. Cathy the Jesus, Lakuti, Louis Vega, the legendary house DJ Louis Vega playing. Wow, and producer, and Baukhammer. So and Baumeka and Baukhammer and Tamo Sumo. So standout nights probably be the 30th. The standout night probably be the 30th for me, the last day. Another standout night for me will be the 16th, to see that lineup of Oscar Milero, Renee Weiss, Steffi and Zesco, and Barker and Blasher and Alat and Lisa B. Oof, too good. And of course Christina and the Queens in the Saw. That's the third room basically, where they do all the live shows and shit, and all the bands and whatever play. And then obviously the biggest and the best lineup is obviously the first one of the month. It's fucking crazy. This one here on the 2nd, Terence Fixima, Aurora Halal, Maron, Olivia Mendes, Face Vital, Sterak, Vincent Newman, Virginia, Ed Davenport, Atep Kyle, Esgi, Kiki Lomo, Marie Monsteria, Monty Luke, Veraco Portable. Oof, too good. So yeah, recommend you check it out. Link will obviously be available in the description, but you know where to find it. Berghain program for November is there for you to see if you want. Anyways, my friends, that's it. That's been the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 824. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company as per usual. It's been a pleasure to have your company as per usual. For those of you tuning into the show live here via YouTube, I'll be back in about 10-15 minutes to a random show. So if you want that, make sure you check out the random show. Random show channel link is available in the description of this particular video. Click that and you'll be able to go to the random show specific channel to check out that stream, which will start in about 10-20 minutes. If you're listening via the audio side of things, you won't obviously want to go to the live stream, so just, you know, thank you for tuning in. Leave me a 5-star review, and also you will hear the nice tune of the day playing as well in the background. My tune of the day today will be from the one and only Geordie Greep. Big up Geordie Greep. This record, this new album just came out the other day. The record I've been banging out. It almost sounds like a gospel album. It's not really gospel, but it almost sounds gospel-y. So big up Geordie Greep. And the record I'm going to be playing my tune today is going to be Holy Holy, track 3 on the album from Geordie Greep. Check it out. You see it down the screen. That's the track that's playing as a tune of the day for the audio listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company and your time, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Take care, my friends. Be well. Peace.